Chess Hero
is absolutely positively the pound for pound best fighter in the world. Probably the greatest fighter of all time in any sport. When you talk about who's the baddest dude in the world, you put two guys in a room and who walks out?
Chess Hero
Walks out of the room every time. No question about it.
So I truly thought that this episode would be solely focused on Taya and Chashiro's relationship, but it really wasn't. It was fun, I can say, to actually get the obvious answer to the question who was the entity / person that sent Chashiro to break into Taya's house, which was extremely obvious, being the ISA, being the entity that contracted him because of Bundario's crash landing in Taya's property. But the thing that the episode didn't really tell us is why Chashiro decided to stick with Taya and not to the ISA. You can say that Chashiro is kind of working as this contractor, so it wasn't like a full-time thing, it was semi one time. But with Ichiro coming to Chashiro, it is kind of interesting. So like we were given like a passing line and we pretty much saw kind of like Taya convinces him, which is fucking odd the way he convinces him. Like I still believe that Chashiro and the ISA are playing the long game with Taya, and pretty much Chashiro is their ace in the hole, specifically kind of in the same way that the Hashirians and their tech specifically is their ace in the hole against the Hashirians, which is really cool. But it wasn't as weird that Sabio didn't know about it. But it was weirder that Taya just knew that there was a changing of the guards in the ISA, which I truly believe that he probably pulled it out of his ass, because there is no fucking way that Ichiro, being the old ass Japanese man that holds a very high position of a Japanese company, is semi-new or wasn't around in a very high capacity in the ISA when Taya and Chashiro met for the first time. There is no fucking way, I'm sorry. But seeing more of Sakito in this episode was pretty fun. How much, for fuck's sake, the show still doesn't want to update the intro, because they could have genuinely updated it. Because for fuck's sake, they don't even care that Sakito is barely in fucking dance, they just put him in a bubble. Again, it feels highly disrespectful for the quote-unquote like 6th Ranger. Just saying. And connecting him and Chashiro with the Yakuza family was like really fun. I truly believe that Chashiro and Sakito as characters really bounce off each other really well. And in my opinion, they were really fun together, and connecting them to the Yakuza family from the very first episode was really fun. Specifically, having the trio coming into their home and kind of meeting with the head of the family and the son that was supposed to marry Mira, and like the family remembered them as the weird fucking creatures that chased them, and the trio didn't, which kind of like loops back to something that Distress said about Mad Rex and his memories not being important. It's kind of like poetically a funny joke. While all of that was happening with the monster kind of running amok, Chashiro took the thing that Ichiro actually contracted him to take, which was an Hashirian key that Cannonborg gave to the family with a promise that whenever pretty much the gang is going to take over Earth, they would probably be their top dogs, which, to be completely honest, does give a lot to Cannonborg and his character. I truly believe that Cannonborg could really work alongside this race and Mad Rex. Like, they could have been the original, like, head of the kind of main trio. They pretty much is like Mad Rex comes in, he gets defeated but not dies, Cannonball comes in, he pretty much upgrades him. Cannonball kind of gets defeated, but again doesn't die. So this race coming in and they kind of work in unison, because those three could really work well together, because Cannonball as a villain just doesn't really work as this predominantly like focused main villain. Like this race really feels like it. Madrex doesn't really, because Madrex is very much kind of like a Goldar, kind of like, oh, I'm angry, I'm going to fight all the time, while this race is kind of like planning and seeding and would fight, but not as much. While Cannonball is very much the type of villain that would plan, like that's his deal, he's the doctor, he's the smartass. It is really cool to see that, and it is pretty much like I think what Cannonball does a lot. He comes in, he gives them some sort of like something that holds high amount of power and pretty much promise them the world without actually telling them that they're actually going to commit to that promise, because 100% the Hashirians also said it to fucking the ISA, promising the world, but in the end nothing really happens. And it is really interesting that now after pretty much Chashiro gave Ichiro the key, Ichiro called Naito and pretty much talked about they have stewardship in the ISA, which pretty much means that they have some sort of control over properties, which probably means the Bone Killer Robos specifically, which semi means that maybe like Cannonball needed Lightning Tex's help to actually develop and create the Boon Killer Robo. So it is going to be kind of interesting that they're planning that the ISA and Lightning Corp are kind of like together as a semi of a secondary villain, or at least a help. You could say kind of like a semi of an anti-hero kind of like entity in this story, with pretty much the ISA wanting to get rid of the Ashirians, but they don't like that the Boonboomgers are like an entity of them own and not connected to them, which is really cool. It's very much an Ultraman thing to do. A lot of like pretty much like the top brass, not the defense team, way more kind of like the army side of the defense team. Pretty much I would go with, if I would go with an Ultraman comparison, it's the GGF next to Scarred. The ISA are the GGF, but Scarred is the Boonboomgers, but they wanted like the Boonboomgers to pretty much underneath them. So it is going to be kind of interesting how long the ISA are going to play this facade of, okay, we're going to help the Boonboomgers until, hey, you're going out of line, or at least you're going out of the lines that we made, so we're going to cut you off, because they have a key, they have pretty much a robo, so it's pretty much going to happen in one point. The key would probably give them the option to actually create like evil rangers, which would be cool. Again, seeing Cannonball working behind the scenes does really help this entire thing with the ISA work so well. And the fights, how much they had a lot of odd effects, were like really cool in my opinion. Again, like what the fuck was the weird transition? I don't get it, but fine. And I do like the small start of the build up of Madrex getting his memories back, which I do like. That was the only time that we saw actually Gemba on screen, which does work for his character. Pretty much he comes in, he understands there is a fight because he still have his Boon changer. So hey, like Taya hits him in the head, he starts to maybe like Madrex starts to semi connect some old memories, but Taya can't really like come to him and start talking to him because Gemba comes in and just try to interrogate Madrex to give him the location of this race, which in the end didn't really work. And I do like there is this kind of like tension between Gemba and Taya, which is going to be interesting how this is going to evolve further on. Yeah, like overall, it was a pretty fucking good episode. I believe that maybe the episode shouldn't been advertised as this big revelation of, oh my god, this is how fucking Ty and Chashiro met, as we already know that. It was kind of explained already, but okay, I did like the action scenes. I did like a lot of like the backstory things, and pretty much the build up to the ISA kind of becoming more and more prominent in the show, while I am kind of getting more and more disappointed with this race. It's weird, I don't know, but yeah, episode number 29 of Bakurake Sentai Boonboomger gets an A. I did really like it. What you thought about episode 29, comment below, let me know. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you liked it, please like the video. Also, if you haven't, help your subscribe button actually achieve his gacha of becoming a subscribed button. Please help him, just press it. Don't forget, you're the only one that can prevent forest fires. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.